Welcome to the first episode of the Project Today Van Tour Reaction series. My name is Dylan, and I'm really into tiny homes and van life and thinking about good and bad design in each of those two spaces. So in this series, I'm going to watch a bunch of van tour videos on YouTube and talk about the design of those vans. We'll talk about what are the pros and cons of each van build that we see. So with that, let's just get right into it with the first episode. The video is Super Smart Camper Van Design with lots of great ideas, full tour by Exploring Alternatives. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone, in this video we're going to show you this beautiful camper van. It's functional, it's spacious, and it has every amenity that you could think of or ever need in a van, including a toilet and shower, which everyone is always asking about. There's a lot of really interesting space-saving ideas in here.
First thing that I notice looking at this van is she mentioned that there's a toilet shower somewhere in here. As you can see, there's no bathroom that's in an enclosed room. So the toilet and shower are hidden somewhere else within the space. I'm assuming it's an outdoor shower. Let's see.
So the first thing you notice when you open up the door is that it's very spacious in here. There's a lot of floor space. The ceiling's really high. This is a 2018 Dodge ProMaster. It's the 159-inch wheelbase, and it's about 19 feet long. And there's a very spacious kitchen here. I'm jealous of all this counter space. There's a sink with a 12-volt pump for water. And for water, they have two 20-liter freshwater jugs under the counter. A very spacious bar fridge. There's lots of storage up here for food.
Oh, I don't know why so many people do this. A lot of vans have this kind of open storage, or they're these cabinets that don't have faces to them. But I really don't think it's a great idea. I know in the Project Today van that I helped build out, we didn't have any open storage, but still there were a few times where we hit bumps and our cabinet doors opened up, even with drawer catchers on that were supposed to prevent them staying closed. And they still opened up, stuff flew out. I can't imagine that with open storage that doesn't happen. It's got to happen. If you live in a van and have open storage and it works, let me know, because I honestly am doubtful that it works.
There's pots and pans in here and dishes in here. This has already given me an idea for our van, but I love how everything has its place. It's really easy for things to get cluttered in a small space. So when you can have something like this and keep all your dishes organized, it makes living or traveling in a van that much more comfortable.
One thing to notice about that cabinet is that it looks like everything's in its nice place right now, but again, when you're driving, that stuff will move around. It doesn't look like it's that secure in that cabinet.
Same goes for this drawer. I didn't even know this was possible, but there's a drawer inside a drawer.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
So you have your cutting board here, and then space for all of your cooking utensils here.
In the Project Today van, we would have piles of stuff in our drawers, and they'd just be piled on top of each other. You'd have to pull out the top things to get to the bottom part. And it's really cool there how you can have the drawer within the drawer to have stuff on top of each other, but in a usable way. I like that a lot.
And there's more storage here. There's two different kinds of hardware in here that help keep everything closed while you're driving. So these ones you may have seen before, you just push them to lock them, and then that way nothing flies open when you drive. And while you're stopped, you can just have them out. For these drawers here, they have a different system. There's just this little latch here, so you can lock your drawers.
Okay, I don't love either of those systems. And that's for one main reason, is that every time before you drive, you have to remember, okay, are all of the drawers and cabinets closed? Are they in their locked position? And if they're not, you have to get up and go and put them all in this locked position. They make drawer catchers like this for cabinets and drawers that can be put on the inside of the drawer, and you don't have to do anything extra to make them happen. You don't have to worry about them right before you drive. I think that's a better model of doing something than having to remember to close, shut everything, batten the hatches before you drive. Something to consider.
There's an induction cooktop here, which is something we've rarely seen in a van or even in a tiny house, but it's really neat. It's basically an electric cooktop, so you don't have to mess around with butane cans or propane cans. You do need quite a lot of battery capacity, so that's one reason why we didn't install that in our van, but in here, apparently it works perfectly. Over here, there's some outlets so you can charge all your devices. There's a couple USB ports there, a couple of 110.
Oh no, no, don't do this. You never want an outlet that has USB plugs as well, because that means the USB ports are using AC power. And USB ports can be run as DC, like that little device up above she showed before. Those USB ports likely, I'm assuming, are running off DC. When accessing AC power in a van, you have to go through the inverter, and the inverter is not perfectly efficient. It always loses some power as power is transferred from DC to AC. So if you can charge your devices with USB off DC, you always want to do that instead of doing it off AC. These outlets look cool, but don't do this. Don't buy this in your van.
Plugs. So the power for this van, there's a 300-watt solar panel on the roof, there's a 3,000-watt inverter, and there's 2 AGM batteries with a total of 220 amp hours. So they can be charged either with the solar panel on the roof, or they're also hooked up to the alternator. So they're almost always getting charged.
220 amp hours of AGM with an induction cooktop. That's honestly not that much. I'm surprised. I thought they would have more battery power. Assuming that's 220 amp hours total, that means they only have about 110 amp hours of usable battery power. And if you have an induction cooktop and a toaster and a 3,000 watt inverter, you're going to use that power pretty quickly. I think if you're going to do induction, you need a bigger battery bank than that. I mean, maybe it works for them, but just barely. I think you want more for just the safety and security. I doubt they can use that induction cooktop 3 times a day.
Here there's a really spacious bed. You sleep widthwise instead of lengthwise, so that saves a lot of space, and that's one of the reasons why you can actually just walk around in the van. They do have another model that they're making with 2 double beds, which is really fun if you want to travel with friends or as a family. There's lots of storage here for clothes and
more open storage. My socks are not staying in there. You have to put them in packing cubes or something at that point. And then the packing cubes will roll out. I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me.
Blankets and extra stuff. And then underneath, since these vans are for renting, there's tons of space to put your suitcase.
Wait, is that a propane tank? Why do they have a propane tank in there if there's an induction cooktop? Is there a second cooktop somewhere that maybe they have an outdoor cooktop as well? I can't believe there's a propane tank.
And anything you want to travel with. There's 2 max air roof vents. You can have them open even when it's raining. And what's interesting about having 2 is you can set one to be pulling air out and the other to be blowing air in. So you'll get lots of air circulation.
Okay, one interesting point about that though is it looks like they're not super spread out. Ideally, if you're going to have 2 fans, which I think is great, that's what we did in Project Today Van, and it worked really well. I think if you're going to have 2 fans though, you want one in the back, one in the front. Put them as far away basically as possible so that you can get that maximized airflow. These look a little close. And I saw on the roof, you could see the solar panel was up front and then the 2 max air fans were behind it. I mean, maybe it would have been better to do the solar panel in the middle of the 2 max air fans so that one could be pushed further forward. That could have maybe helped.
If it's really hot outside, you can keep the temperature in the van really cool. This bench isn't something...
Wait, also I want to say, I feel like I've been criticizing this van a lot, but it looks beautiful. I mean, in here, it looks super, super beautiful. And most of it seems very functional. We're just talking through some of the specifics of things that could be slightly improved. So keep that in mind. I'm not trashing this van. It looks very nice.
You would see in all of their vans. Usually it would only be used for one of the vans with 2 double beds, but basically it flips down and creates 2 extra seats with seat belts. It's also nice because it's another hangout spot where you can sit down, and especially with the swivel seat and this table that you can take out, you can create a dining area pretty easily.
Okay, that's super cool. I haven't seen that in very many vans. Usually the seats are permanent if there are extra seats, but that's really cool. It looks like it doesn't take up too much space and allows for friends to come join you if they want and have a seat belt. That's awesome. I like that a lot.
The toilet is hidden in here. So you just open this up and you have a small portable toilet on wheels. So you can just pop that out really quickly when you wake up in the morning or right before bed and go to the bathroom if you're not at a campground or if it's too chilly and you don't want to go outside.
I like that this is away from the bed. You can easily get to it at night, easily get to it anytime during the day. Nothing is blocking you from getting to the toilet.
So this is a really convenient spot to have it. For insulation, they used a combination of Reflectix, Roxol, and spray foam. There's also a heater in here, which is really nice on days like today when it's a little chilly. So their heater is a Webasto and the thermostat is right here. So you can choose a temperature, set it, and it'll maintain that temperature in the van. So here's a look at the back of the van. Like I mentioned before, there's tons of space in here for suitcases and other stuff that you want to travel with. There's extra camping chairs here. What's nice is you could even fit bicycles under here, and there's additional netting up here for smaller loose things.
Yeah, a huge advantage of the fixed bed is you have a ton of space for storage underneath. So good to see that they've left it open and you can take full advantage of this space to store all the games and bikes and camping stuff, all the extra gear.
And in here you can get a peek at the electrical system. So there's a battery at each end, and then that 3,000 watt inverter's right here.
One thing to consider also, just to think about, is in a van, you want to try to balance the weight ideally left to right. So you can see here on the left side of the van is the kitchen, which is pretty heavy. And then on the right side of the van, they have the electrical system to hopefully slightly balance out this weight because, for example, those AGM batteries are both super heavy. So the electrical system in general, fairly heavy. I mean, maybe it's not quite as much as the kitchen, but helps to balance out the weight a little bit. I want that distribution to be as even as possible.
Here you can store a small propane tank that you can use to hook up to a hot water heater and have an outdoor shower right here between the doors.
Okay, so propane for the water heater. They don't have enough power for an electric water heater. That's why there's no electric water heater. If it were me, I'd probably upgrade this electrical system. It'd be kind of expensive, but I'd probably go all electric. If you're already all in with that induction cooktop, I would probably get a stronger electrical system.
So that's it for the van tour. There's really nothing that we can think of or see in here that's missing. I can't really describe to you how nice it is to just walk in here. It really feels functional and spacious, and like you could just live a really comfortable life or have a really comfortable trip in a van like this.
Okay, cool. Awesome van. They did a lot of things right. Looks beautiful. I agree, very functional. And there are just a few things that I think if I were living in this van or building this van that I would change. But I'd love to hear what you think about this van. What aspects were your favorite and what design changes would you make if you were living out of this van? Let me know in the comments down below. We'll continue the conversation down there. And with that, I'll see you next Wednesday for episode 2.